Hello everyone, this is going to be a video showcasing the work I did on bringing the Draugr to life. If you don't know, the Draugr is a cut Halo vehicle that was originally supposed to be on the tip of the spear mission for Halo Reach. But unfortunately they ran out of time, or their vision changed and it wasn't brought into the game. The only thing that exists of it to my knowledge is this basic block out that is pretty much a completely different design from the concept art we've been given, that I personally think looks way cooler than the block out. So this wasn't really that much use to me. Um, but to start out with, this is the basic shape that I started out with. Um, you see it's very rough and the back looks pretty weird. And then we move on to a later version. You can see here I started to refine some of the edges and stuff. Get the general shape down more. The back's looking a little bit better. You can see the little grab lift things here now. And we move on to this, which is my current and my final version. You can see there's a little scarab here for size comparison. This thing is huge. If you look, I have it scaled properly. It's about 167 meters long. I think in the lore it's closer to 150 or something like that. And it's also it's a little too wide, but I didn't really bother with that. I think it still looks good. Um but yeah, this is the main reference point that I used when I was making this thing. So obviously, um this is at an angle. So that makes it kind of hard to model it unless you're just like, freehanding it, which I did for quite a bit of it. But when I wanted to get the silhouette down pretty good, so what I would do is I set the reference up and then I would go into orthographic view. Let me just hide all this stuff real quick. Yeah. Oh, here it is. Hide that. Wait. Oh, there we go. So I get the Draugr here, and then what I would do is I originally started out with this. I just made a simple little vertex path along all the major edges that I could identify. And then what I did is I overlaid that on top of my uh, Draugr. Let's see, I think it's this one. No, it's this one. Laid that over my Draugr, and then basically I did a what is it? Not a mirror. It's the shrink wrap. I would do shrink wrap onto the mesh, and then I could move the mesh around and to the right spot until the vertex points would land on it. And it's just helpful for getting the silhouette down. See, it lines up lines up pretty good as best I could. Um, One issue with this though is obviously this concept art. This is like the only one at this angle that was made. So the two halves aren't the same. Like they didn't base this off a 3D model, as far as I know. Um, so you can see this side is visually accurate, but this side is completely different. But if I wanted this side to match this side, this would have to go up this way a lot, which would be pretty crazy. Let's see, show it real quick. There's a grab. Yeah, like that. It's closer to, or no, it's farther down. But yeah, this was supposed to be moved up a lot. But if I did that, then it just looks goofy to me. I think it looks better if it's like flatter, more angular. Let's see, there we go. But yeah, this is the final design I had. I handed it off to Skaboodly who's a really awesome 3D artist. He makes really awesome models and stuff that he's been putting into Halo. He's got his own Halo mod he's working on. He expressed interest after I showed him this to buy it, and so I sold it to him for a little bit. And so now he owns this, and he's taken up the mantle of finishing it. I've gotten it pretty much as far as I can with my knowledge. Um, I only have the sculpt done. You know, I would have to retopo it, and there's the whole other issue of getting it into the actual game and setting it up, which I don't know too much about the mod tools, but I want to learn eventually. But yeah, so I got it like this so far. This is what he got when I handed it off to him. If you've watched his streams recently, he's actually showed it off a little bit. They showed off a video, I think, where he has it loaded into a test map and he's driving it around. It's just a basic version of this mesh that's been decimated so it fits in the engine. But I'm just gonna do a little fly through so you can see all the details. This takes a lot of design cues from other Covenant vehicles from Reach, especially in the parts that you can't see, because you know this is the only angle really that exists. So anything that you can't see, like the backside or especially the underside, I had to interpret myself. So I ended up making my own custom scenario of Forge World that had every single Covenant asset that I could find in Reach. So I could very quickly, you know, look at things for reference. So a lot of these little details and greebles and stuff are things that you might find on other vehicles or inspired by. So a lot of big like radiator vents. This is supposed to be like a giant upscaled Wraith core. There's a similar one here in the back. This stuff's inspired by the Revenant with like boosters, and I think this is from the Ghost maybe. Just a lot of like vents and little lines, big radiators. Um, and I thought this thing could maybe have like some big boost, and so that's like would come out from here and here maybe. There's the gravity pods that make this thing hover here. And then over here is the ramp. Now, if you read Winter Contention, which is the story that 343 put out, I think last year or a year before that, about Noble Team on some planet that, and they actually capture one of these Draugr siege engine vehicles, and to get into it, I think Tom he ends up driving up the ramp in a Ghost. Um, so there is a Ghost, or not? Sorry, not a Ghost. A ramp on this thing, but it's also said to have a grav lift, and the only really places that make sense is right here. It's also shown in the art. But to me, it's kind of confusing because I don't really understand how you could have a grav lift and a ramp here in the same area. Because like if there's a ramp here, it's got to fold back over here. But if it folds back over here, now it's blocking the grav lift, and the grav lift has to be able to close to load vehicles up. Otherwise, they would just float in the air. So I don't know. It's a little confusing. You could honestly pick either or. Sorry, 1 second. Oh, sorry about that. I had to let my cat out. But yeah, so you could honestly take your pick about which one you want to, like, if you were to actually add this into a game, which one you would want to include, because I don't think, especially with like the Halo Reach mod tools, there's like limitations. So I don't think you could really do both. So you'd have to like pick one. The easiest one to set up is probably the grav lift. You know, you just have it pick you up. I don't really know how you'd load vehicles in like that though. But and then that brings me inside, and I took the liberty of making a very basic interior layout. This is a warthog that I scaled to be the size of a wraith, because I was lazy and didn't want to import the wraith. But this thing is said to be able to hold like 100 people in a couple vehicles, so I figured they need a channel for the vehicles to load into, and then the only really space left is here on the side, so I put some double row seats. And then if the grav lift stuff's here and there's a ramp coming up, then the only real way to go is like through here on the side. That leads you in here. This takes you down to like the engine area, like a reactor, maybe like engineering. Over here, there's what looks to be like a shooting floor kind of window thing in the art, where this thing is probably like open or like a shutter that can open and close for like troops to look out and shoot at things or whatever. I got some scale model there. This is just like a general empty area, not really the cockpit. Because in the story it said cockpit is like up a level, I think. So I included a second floor, and then I figured this would be like the main control area. And then I made like a little like reactor core thing here. I don't know. There's a lot of cool things you could do with the design of this thing, like destroying things on the inside to weaken it or to let other people in, like destroy the lift or like to open it up or something. That's basically it. I just did like some really crappy rough interior design, like a window here to look down with the grav lift, but yeah, and then like I really just like to look at this thing because it's cool, but a lot of cool things. Like I made like these big lights here. Um, I think that's shown. I think it's off of this maybe. I don't know. I thought this thing is so massive that it should probably have some like floodlight kind of thing. So I figured I could put some of those on here. And then there's some more hover here, hover stuff, and then a lot of just like random like greebling lines and stuff on the bottom. A lot of inspiration I took from, Reach Covenant aesthetic. Um, got this thing at the front, which I actually found out. If you look at the Wraith, the front of the Wraith, it is almost the exact same thing. I saw some people say that this might be like a Scarab Beam kind of gun, which would be cool. But if we want to stick to like the actual like design or even the lore, then this thing is not a gun. It's just something that looks really cool. And then these are like the cool little eye things. I thought it'd be cool if like when you're driving this thing, if there were like screens on the inside that had like feeds from out of the eyes. I don't know if that's really a possibility, but yeah, it's just a cool thing. And then there's another shooting floor here. This one's kind of weird though because it's at an angle. That's mainly because if you look at the art, it's also at an angle. So I don't really know how that would work out geometrically. You have to flatten it, I suspect, or you could keep it at this angle and then straighten out some of the edges maybe, but yeah, it'd be around here on the inside at least. Um, yeah, like right here, you shoot out more. It's got these big tusks on it. Um, but yeah, it's got these five. They're like basically heavy scarab beam weapons. So like imagine a scarab beam, but like maybe a little stronger. It's got five of them. So it's at the four at the front here, and then the one at the back is supposed to be used for AA apparently. Um, so this thing is definitely a threat on the battlefield if you run into it. But yeah, I'll just fly around it a little bit more so you guys can get a good look at it. I know to me this is a really cool vehicle that I always wish was put into the game. So I wanted it so bad and no one was making it, so I figured I might as well just try it myself. Um, Obviously I was a little in over my head because I didn't really realize all the stuff I'd have to do to actually put it in game. But it's in better hands now, so it should eventually see the light of day. It has actually already. So yeah, you guys know what I mean. But yeah, just a cool model. I thought I'd show you guys. 'Cause I know this is a vehicle that a lot of people have been wanting to see realized. Um, so yeah, thank you for watching. If you want, go ahead and subscribe. If you have any questions about it, comment that below, and I'll look and answer. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and have a nice day.